Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with my monthly designer challenge video. This month we have a theme of house, and I am using the new House Pivot Panels die in a card with a Halloween theme. I will also be using the Halloween charms, and you can check out all of our die designs at karenburniston.com. You always choose your card size, but you do need a certain width to use the pivot panels. So for today's card, I'm going to do a landscape A2. So I've cut a piece of cardstock to 11 inches wide by 4 1/4 tall, and then scored that in the middle for folding. And then to that, I added 2 panels of pattern paper that are just a little bit smaller. I also cut a piece of pattern paper for the front of the card and attached it using a tape runner just on one edge. Now my reasoning was I may need to get between those layers later to add a transparency just in case the house was sticking in the opening. However, that did not become an issue for this card, so in the end I just glued that paper down. There are 12 individual dies in the House Pivot Panels set, and it's the big one that does the pop-up, so I'll cut that out of a patterned paper. Now you can use any die cutting machine that can accommodate a wafer thin die, and today I'm using a Sizzix Big Shot. The first step to the pivot panels is to work the folds. So the center fold I like to work in both directions. The rest of them just one direction is fine. The idea is just to train those folds and then return everything until it's flat again. As I chose my placement, I was looking at that outer house. That's the one that's going to dictate the window, and I wanted that to be pretty well centered in the height of the card. And then just making sure that the center fold of the panels is right in the center fold of the card, I will add a strong adhesive to the 2 small tabs. I'm using my LINECO neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle, and we do sell both of those items on our website. Now I will fold those 2 small tabs underneath and attach them to the card, and just giving them a press to set the glue. Then on the other side, the same thing. The glue goes on the 2 small tabs, and then I fold those under and attach them to the card. And do make sure as you kick those tabs under that you're attaching them directly to the card and they're not pinning down any part of your houses. So the houses still need to stay free flowing through that mechanism. It's only the little small tabs, and they should be glued directly to the card. Now as you start to close the card, that mountain should be coming up in the middle. You may have to give it a little bit of help, but this is what you should see. As you close the card, the panels come up as a mountain, the houses go the other direction. So you can see here, I've got a mountain in the middle and then 2 wings of houses. Next, I need to attach the outer tabs. So what I'll do is flatten everything back out again, and then I want to add my glue to that outer tab and just coat it with a strong adhesive. I like to attach that tab in the closed position. So I just fold in the house, this tab is now sticky on top, and then just press the front of the card to that exposed adhesive. Since I used glue, I need to give it a second, which of course I didn't give it long enough. So let me try that again. Just getting that glue to set up. Then when I open it, I'll even go in there and give it a good press, make sure that it's attached. Okay, so one side of the card working great, and now I want to repeat that process for the other side. So I coat the tab with a strong adhesive, and then I close the card, peeling back so that I can fold in next to the house. The tab is sticky on top, so then I can just press the back of the card to that exposed adhesive. I love how easy the assembly is on the pivot panels. Okay, time to cut the window. So I have my decorator house blade side up with some temporary tape behind it. Now normally to cut a window into a pop-up card, you'd put your die blade side up and then close the card to move it over here. But it's too hard to do that because of the way this pop-up is. It's not a simple fold that will flip that die over into the right position. So I'm going to have to just eye it. And you see that I've just come off of the fold a little bit because that's the decorator die, so it will actually be inside a little bit of that fold. Now I'm asking a lot of a wafer thin die to be able to cut through 3 layers at one time. Even though I've rolled it through twice, I'm pretty sure I'll only get through the first layer of pattern paper and the cardstock. And yeah, I can see that it did not cut through my final piece of pattern paper. But no big deal, I'll just take the die out, empty the paper, and then set it right back into that opening again and run it back through. Now every time I cut this window, I need to make sure that the cutting pad on top only covers just the die itself. And that way, as I roll it through, as soon as I clear the cutting pad, I can pull that card back out the front end of the machine and I don't have to worry about squishing down my pop-up by rolling it all the way through. And now I have a house-shaped window that lines up with the pop-up when the card is closed. So now to finish out this shaped window, I want to add the roof at the top, just making sure that I'm overlapping the house cut just a bit. So there's barely going to be enough room for that roof that you can cut that little overhang on the right and have it still stay off of the pop-up, but it should work. And once again, you'll probably have to go through a couple times and possibly take the paper out of the die and then recut again to get through 3 layers, also making sure that you don't put your cutting pad too far into the pop-up itself. Rolling through the machine may end up flattening your pop-up, so just reach in there and get it popped back out again. And now it's just a matter of using the included decorator dies to make some cute little houses for my pop-up. Now normally I would just construct those little houses off of my card and then glue the finished house to the card, but for the one that's going to line up with the window, I want to construct it through the window, and that way I have the exact right overlap between the roof and the house to make sure that it lines up perfectly with that window. Okay, and then from here, it's just a matter of making 5 more houses to glue to the pop-up. And of course I have those doors and windows and chimneys to add as well. So for my houses, I mostly stuck with solid colors, but I did stamp a spiderweb on the yellow ones. I used the stencil feature on the door to fill in black panels, and then I also filled in the window panes with a black pen. I'm nesting a couple of these circles crosshatched together in different sizes to make some rings for the front of the card. I'll use those as a decorative frame around my window. And then the rest of my decorations will come from the Halloween Charms set. So I'm using the stencil feature on the ghost, and I did that on both sides. The idea being that he can peek through the window. For the bats, I'll cut them out of black cardstock and then use a white gel pen through the stencil feature to add all the details. And then the same thing for the spider charm, black cardstock, white gel pen. And in all these cases, I will cut off the holes at the top of the charms. I'm only using them as elements, not as charms. So I just created a little scene using those rings as a frame, and then the moon charm, the bat charm, and the spider charm. There is a little tree that comes with the house pivot panel, so I glued that half over the opening, and then I'll glue another one inside the card. I thought it would be cute to add a strip of pattern paper on the left-hand side overlapping the ghost so that the ghost is just peeking out from behind the paper. I'll balance that with the same strip on the right-hand side of the card and then finish out with a couple more of those crosshatch circles, one of which I'm using to cut out a stamped greeting. And then additional decorations were just a few more of those charms and trees in the neighborhood. The finished card folds up nice and flat. I'll be able to mail this in an A2 envelope for a single stamp. If you check the description box below this YouTube video, you will find supply links as well as a link to the blog post. Our very talented design team have also taken on the House Challenge, and you will find those links on the blog post as well. Thanks for watching. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com, where you can find out information about purchasing these dies, as well as links to all my other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.